everybody, and welcome to my video. We are diving into Project Life Weekly, and I have a whole bunch of footage from different months, basically. So this is July. This is the start of my second album for the year, and the first part of this video is going to be me putting my photos in for July. And my intention had been to do the videos that I did a couple last week where I did May, and then I would drop my photos in, drop my embellishments in, do my journaling, and then show you like a before and after. And that was my intention for each month that I was behind. That did not happen because I sat down and dived in and just did a bunch of stuff, and I filmed all of it. And so I'm just combining a bunch of footage. So this first part here is just July is already set up. I'm using an older core kit from Becky Higgins. I think it is called the Azure core kit. And it's a very old one. That's what I've been doing this year, is using older core kits. So I have all that set up. I have a sort of a specialty project that I did actually in the month of July, and that was recording the temperatures in this insert. I knew I wouldn't have a ton of inserts for July, so it was just this fun way that I was using my stamps and the cards. I saw the idea from Allie Edwards. She did her temperatures in really big numbers, and she did them on 3x4 cards. And so I just used the stamp set that I had, and then I did it all the way through that. It's not all the way through the end of the month. It was through where I was at that point in July, and then I knew that I would need to go back and finish out like the last 4 or 5 days of July. So that's what that specialty insert is, those two. And I plan on doing some journaling on those and adding some photos or different things on different spots for that. And so that was the only thing that I had in July. And I just did that in July because I was wanting to craft. At this point, I was still caught up in my Project Life album. And in July is where it really went off the rails because of the heat that we dealt with. I couldn't get into my office, and then I've really struggled probably since the middle of July. So I will have to go back and stamp the rest of the month, the 4 or 5 days that hadn't happened yet. But I dropped in my regular photos, and then I know I do have a few inserts. I also really desperately need to get a Project Life app print order in, because I have some larger photos that I need to put in my album. For the month of July, I always have a few larger prints, and they are usually from our county fair that happens at the end of July. Every year, it's our big thing that happens before we go back to school. Usually we have that, and then a week and a half or so later, we start school. So our county fair is usually the end of our summer. And so I usually do a couple larger prints for that, and I will usually document a couple pages in the app just because it's more convenient. And then I do a larger print. And in my family album here, I do one every single year, and there are definitely some things that are repetitive each year. And our county fair is one of them. Back to school, I always do stories of home in my family album. And I have a friend that years ago, when we first started memory keeping, and we were doing albums. They weren't really called family albums back then, or personal albums, or we didn't really do Project Life. That wasn't around yet. We were doing traditional memory keeping. And I remember a few years into us doing memory keeping, she said, well, my albums are just repetitive. Every single year they look the same. We do the same things. And that is definitely true for us. We're very routine based. There's not, we don't travel a ton. There's not a lot of things out of the ordinary that we're doing. And she quit memory keeping and quit keeping an album because she really felt like, what's the point? We do the same thing every year. And over the years, I have continued to memory keep, and I moved into project lifestyle and this pocketed style memory keeping. And I look back at that many times, over the years, and I think, yes, there have been things that have been the same, like going, to the pool every July. Like, those are photos that we have. Going to the fair at the end of July. That's always the same. But yet they're not. And they do change, and they do have this subtle changes over the years. The kids get older. Things change at the fair, the layout, there's just all these little things that you look back over the years and you go, oh, like, that's so fun to see. Our county fair does a poster every year and a theme, and I have printed those out. I've snapped photos of them and printed them out over the years, and it's so cool to see the evolution of different things and just the way things looked in the past compared to the way they look now. And then also, just as a reminder, we all look back on memories. Our kids will look back at different stages of their life with different memories, and though these albums will show that. And so I do think it's really important, even when it feels really repetitive, like, well, we just did this last year and it's the same type of photo. I do really think that it's important to document that. So here is a insert. I needed a insert for just some random photos that I just had more random photos and less, certain events, because the weather was so horrific in July. We really did not do a whole lot. We were either at the pool or we were at home. And so I needed an extra insert. I used a 9x12. I get those from Ali Edwards. And then you see that I had a screenshot of my Apple Music from when we were listening to the Tortured Poets Department from Taylor Swift. I have a photo right there that I cut down. It's hard to see. It's that white one. It's in that 3x4 pocket. That was Kayla's callback. So she had whatever it's called, like when you try out for a musical, and then she had a callback, and I screenshot that when she shared it, that she had got called back for the part. And so I inserted that. And then another one that you saw was a 3x4 of Violet's character in Animal Crossing, which is a Nintendo video game that our family plays. And I took a photo of the TV, and then I cut it down to 3x4, and I added that into July. So those were a few of just my random photos for July. So then that was just for July. That's all I had for July. And then we're going to jump into some footage that is many, many weeks later. And I really abandoned my Project Life album. This really is very rare for me. I usually am very much in my album and working on it. The summer really messed me up. The heat that we dealt with, and we dealt with heat well into October. Like, it did not end until the middle of October, probably. I mean, we still, even at the end of October, we had some heat that just was not fun. And so I'm at this point of what I'm filming, I'm very behind. So my original plan when I sat down to film this video last week, so I just filmed this at the end of last week, so maybe just about less than a week ago, was to sit down and set November up, because one of the things that I like to encourage you to do is to start where you're at. A lot of people will feel like, well, I can't do the month of November because August, September, October are not done. So I need to finish those months before I start where I'm at. And my advice to you is to start where you're at, because it will build momentum. When you try to go back and you're like, well, I just have to get caught up. This is a lot of months for me to get caught up on. It's, I think, 4 months for me to get caught up on. And that's a lot. And I'm going to continue to get behind in November. So I'm going to continue. If I'm trying to just get caught up on the past 4 months, I will continue to not engage in this month. And then I will be another month behind. And then it just continues to feel overwhelming. So if you start where you're at, start in the month you're at. Like for me, I was like, I'm going to start in November, and it's going to breed motivation. It's going to like help me to feel like I'm making progress, and then that will encourage me to go back. And in a way, that's exactly what happened. So my original plan when I sat down to do this video was to set up November. So I'm looking through this paper. This is some paper that I got at the Scrapbook Expo. It is from Simple Stories, and I thought it would be perfect for November. I know that I will end up for October, November, and December using pattern paper instead of using a core kit like I had for the rest of the year. So I decided to go through that paper. I feel like, okay, I'm going to be able to use some of the new stuff that I got at the Scrapbook Expo. I was really excited to use this paper. I thought I'll set up November, and then I'll start engaging in November, and it will be easier for me to go back and get caught up with the other months. So what happened is, as I was doing this, I started skipping around into the other months and setting up the other months, because that's exactly what happened. I got excited. I started getting excited about my album again. I started feeling less overwhelmed. I started remembering that this is fun and not supposed to be stressful. I just started getting really excited. And so I start jumping around in the last 4 months, and I decided to just keep filming, because all of a sudden I realized, like, oh, I didn't stop the camera and like start a proper intro to like maybe, decorating October or August or doing this calendar or that calendar. And so what I decided is I would just do what I was doing, and I would just show the process of what I was doing and walk you through it so that you could see how I truly get caught up. By the end of the year, this album will be completely finished. I am not at all worried about it. There are moments, throughout the years where I have had to finish up my Project Life album, the first few weeks of January, but even that, like, I don't stress about that. I know I will be able to wrap it up, and I know that because when I get into this and I start doing it, I get excited. I remember why I love doing it. I remember that it's fun and it's easy and it's not stressful, and a lot of times what I'm thinking about the process is what's making it stressful. It's not the actual process of doing it. So here I'm working on my November calendar, and because I'm behind, the next tip I have for you is to just keep it simple. I'm not going to get my stamps out and do my calendars with a bunch of stamps and get more product out. I'm just going to keep it simple. I have the sticker sheet, and that's what I'm going to use. So I layered the banner there on the right before November starts. I layered some pumpkins on the back. I'm going to pull open my calendar for November, and this was at, pretty much the first week into November. And so I'm just going to fill out my calendar as to like what is on our calendar currently for what's happening. And then I thought I was filming. That was me being totally annoyed and realizing I was not filming a huge chunk of this. And so all I did was write in what we have going on. There's not much detail on the calendar because it's just whatever we have planned for the coming month. And then I pulled out some ribbon. I recently reorganized my ribbon and moved it in here in my craft room, and it's way better. It's more accessible to me, and it has made me totally want to use it. And then I pulled out my Ali Edwards kit, which I have not been using my Ali Edwards Stories by the Month in my Project Life Family album. I've been using that exclusively in my personal album. But for the month of November, I pulled out a few items to use here in my family album. It matches really well to this paper. You can see that tag that says 11/24. And then the November circle and then this circle that I'm working with right now are all from the kit. And it matches the paper pretty well. Like, it's not perfect, but it's, perfect enough that I don't feel like it's weird. And then what I'm doing is adding some ribbon to these circles, and I want to add some texture to the pockets. You see, I don't have any photos. This was very early in November. I obviously don't have the photos to drop into November, but I know that I want to get a few things set up. I'm going to staple the ribbon down because the holes in these circle tags, it was very small, first of all. So I felt like tying anything was going to be weird and make it really bulky. Usually the second half of my album, I feel like I can be a little bit more bulky. It doesn't matter how much like thickness I add or how many different layouts I add, because I usually don't have that much in December. I usually just have a countdown to Christmas, and then all of my December documenting I do in December daily. So I took the ribbon, I stapled it, and then you saw that I took the lighter that I had and I melted the top of the ribbon, and that just makes it so it doesn't fray. So when I was working on this, and after I did that, I thought, I wonder if I burn that ribbon a little bit more, if it'll give it a discolored look at the top, and it will provide like a little bit more color and texture. You're gonna see that I do that with one of my other sets of ribbon. As always, I just offer a caution whenever you're doing that. I always melt the ends of my ribbon, and I've never caught them on fire before. I've never had any issues. I have gripped the end of the ribbon after I melt it and it's burnt my hand. But always, I just like to add, be careful if you're doing that. It is fabric. It can catch on fire. It can be an issue. So be careful. So here I was using this other color ribbon. I don't know if I end up keeping this ribbon. I think I change it out because it just ended up being too thin. Yeah, I'm doing like a different way to tie it. And I like doing this where you slip the ends through and then you slip the ends through the loop. It just was too small. The circle was too big and the ribbon was too small, and it didn't look good. And so I will change that out here in the future in the video. And then I will try that technique where I will let the ribbon burn a little bit, and it will discolor it and give it a little bit of a different texture. And I did really like the way that came out. I don't know that I would do it a ton because it does make me a little bit nervous. I don't really want to set ribbon on fire a bunch in my office. So I don't know that I would do that a ton, but it does end up looking kind of cool. So you'll see that. So this paper is what I used for November with a few of the Ellie Edward cards, and that ended up working out really well. And I still had plenty to use in my personal album. Now, for the months of like November, probably just November to December, I will not have a ton in my personal album. There won't be very many personal stories that I want to tell during those months because they're heavy family months. And so I just won't. And that is the beauty of doing both albums for me, is that there are some months that, my family album is much heavier and there's much more going on and it's much more family related. And then there's other months that in my personal album, there's a few more stories that I want to tell. So I never worry about it. I know that it will, it all ends up working out. So here is just the other side of November. I cut that tag that said 11/24. I cut the tag portion off of it, and then I added my faux stitching, so my dash lines around it, and then I just layered it onto a piece of the pattern paper that goes in the pocket, and that just adds a little bit of something different. I didn't want more words there. It says grateful, thankful, blessed. I think that's enough. And so I add that. So here's another tag that I'm adding another piece of that ribbon to. And here's where you're going to see that I go ahead and I staple that ribbon the same way I did on the other side. But I'm going to let the ribbon burn a little bit more and just see if I can get a different kind of texture to it and a different color. I really liked it. I wanted, a brown, or like it will be black because it will be burnt, but it will give that darker color. That's all. So these are some of the fun techniques that I like to do in my Project Life album. So you can see that I'm just tapping it to it, and then I let it catch a little bit, and then I blow it out. And you just don't panic, and it, it'll go out. Maybe maybe have a bottle of water by you or something if you're really worried, or a cup of water. But it really is really easy to do, and I was not worried. And then I just tried to be careful holding it, so that I probably should have stapled it first before burning it, but I did really like the look. So I do think it's fun to try different techniques in my Project Life album. Now, I'm not always great about it, because a lot of times, you just make a decision. If you want to keep up on a project, you have to keep it simple. And so there's lots of times that I'm using stickers, sticker sheets, or, stamps, or I'm not really getting my embossing powder out, or my, alcohol markers out to color different things, because I want to keep up on it. I do save a lot of that for my traditional style layouts, and then I can sprinkle those in. That's why I do traditional layouts without photos, and that way I can pull them out and use them at different times, because I can do some more of those techniques. But it's always fun to do some fun techniques. This tag reminded me that I know that there's a thing in November in the creative community where people will do tags in November. They'll do like a tag every, they'll stamp a tag or make a tag, or, create a tag. And a lot of times it's focused on Christmas, so then you can use the Christmas tags during Christmas. But you could make some tags that you wanted to eventually use in your Project Life album. That would be really fun to do, and to have. And you could stamp them, or, make the journal, make journaling tags that you could then use. So that would be fun. So on this one, it was a tag from the Allie Edwards kit. And then I added the ribbon to the top of that. And then I'm adding a few of the stickers to the, just on it. And then I'll probably use it as a journaling, like I'll add journaling to it. Now, again, I was doing this at the beginning of November, and so there wasn't anything for me to really document in November. I always do all of my documenting at the end of the month, after the month is done, and I can order my photos. So there really isn't anything for me to document at this point. But I can definitely set up the month. And again, this is what you're seeing here is what motivated me and made me keep going. If I hadn't decided to set up November, I probably would have still felt stressed about being behind, like feeling so far behind. And I don't like feeling stressed out about it. I always say, it's great to have memory keeping projects that you need to do, because you get to do it then. You get to do this hobby. But I totally understand the pressure of feeling like, especially because I like to have my album done by the end of the year, it does start to feel stressful, or, you start to feel the pressure of like being behind so many months. So doing what I was doing definitely, helped me feel motivated and made me want to keep going. So what I'm going to show you now is, after I had done this and I had popped my November stuff in, I thought I just want to keep going, and that's what I did. So here is August. Now for August, I used a core kit, and it is called, I think it's the Everyday Core Kit, and it's this red and pink and teal. And you will notice that the card in the top corner says September. I will end up realizing that that's a September card, and I'll pull it out and do something different, because I didn't quite realize when I put that in there that it was September. So if you're feeling confused, it's totally fine. I'll realize it. So now I'm just adding I thought when I decided like, okay, I'm just feeling motivated and let me just see what I can get done. My first thought is always, let me figure out my calendars and my paper or my card kit. That way I know what the month is going to look like, and that makes it easier. So I attached the August. Now here, I also had a bunch of product on my desk. That's the other thing is I had the September, October, and November kit from Ali Edwards sitting on my desk. And so I thought, well, let me see how I can use this. Now I'm looking at the September kit and I'm in August. So I will figure that out. And I was feeling like the kit that I was looking at, the September kit, was not matching my August kit. Which ended up being fine because it was the wrong pieces. So August is the everyday core kit, and I think this is where I realize it. And I don't end up doing a ton to August, but I will end up doing October, setting up October. Also, I have not printed these photos. That's the other thing is I really need to go in and print my photos. Now, I'm a huge believer in daily deleting from your camera roll or weekly deleting, monthly deleting, keeping your camera roll really clean. In my membership group, every month at the beginning of the month, I share a photo marker and you save that onto your camera roll. It says the month and the year. And then when you go back to your camera roll and you're trying to print photos, you just go to the beginning of that photo marker, and then everything after that to the next photo marker is for that month. And I really, really believe that taking the time to keep your camera roll cleaned up and having it organized will help you and encourage you to print photos. And what has happened is, I'm telling you, since July, I have gone off the rails. And I do not, even at this moment in time when I'm voice-overing this video, I do not have my camera roll cleaned up. I have screenshots on there, and I keep screenshots, but there's a way to keep them off of your camera roll, but keep them in your camera app, basically. And I like to do that and clean things up. So it is a priority for me to go back and do that. And I am working on that this week. And then it'll be easier for me to print all my photos. And so I will need to print photos from August, September, and October. So originally I was looking at using this product from Ali Edwards, and it just was not working. I didn't have enough of it. It wasn't feeling like it was flowing. And so I wanted to grab some paper or, some pattern paper. And then I did remember that I picked this up from the Scrapbook Expo. This is from Photo Play. And I have 2 of these 6x6 paper pads. And so I thought, well, that will be perfect for October. Now, originally I wanted to use the blue. There is like that blue right there. I wanted to use that, but I didn't feel like there was enough of that blue throughout the paper pad that it would work to use it. So I just stuck to using the orange and the stripes. It ends up working out. I will mix some of the Ali Edwards product that I have. I will mix some of that with October, but I'm going to set up October. And then the only thing I'll have to figure out is what is going to back my October calendar, because this is 6x6 paper. I could make an 8.5x11 piece of paper using my 6x6 paper pad. It would be easy to do, but I think I end up finding something that just ends up working well. So I have some of my October product sitting next to me, and I will add a few of those things. And the colors matched really well. That was something that was really nice. Ali Edwards, the only thing about Ali Edwards product is the color palettes are not always, for one, they don't always match really easily to other product on the market. They tend to be very unique. And then they're also not like mainstream color combos. I feel like she does a lot of kind of odd color combos that not always, I don't always love, I just find it a little bit hard to match with other things. I always felt like when I was with Stampin' Up that their color palettes matched a lot of what was on the market very easily. So it was very easy to mix product. Sometimes it's not so easy with Ali Edwards stuff. The colors this year have been really bold and saturated, and it's been really nice. But that is just something to note, I feel like, with Ali Edwards product. So let me just show you where I'm at from all of that footage that I did. August, I didn't do much in because I was using a core kit. And so I realized I will just need to use a core kit when I get my photos and I go back and add them and then add embellishments. I will need to use the core kit to do that. So August didn't get much done. I did back my calendar. So I have that. And then there's nothing else set up. I don't even know if I'll need any inserts for August because I didn't even look back through my camera roll to see if I would need that. In September, I used that September card that I was accidentally using for August. I used that for September. I eventually realized it. I found some paper here that I used for September. It was a few of the pieces that were left from my November setup. It was this mushroom piece and then the blue plaid. I just felt worked with the Ali Edwards product that I had. And then here is October, and I just missed filming some of this footage. So you see I used that heart vellum. I did the October there, and then I did a piece on the back there, and then I cut out a few things and just added, it was really just a bunch of miscellaneous October items from my October container. And then here is November. So this definitely helped me feel motivated to get back into my Project Life Family album. My next step, which is I'm doing this week, is working on getting my camera roll cleaned up, getting my photos transferred to my computer and getting them backed up for the last 2 months. I back up all of my videos and photos on my computer, and then getting my photos printed, and then I'll drop those in. So probably the next thing that you see from me from my family album will be me dropping in the photos, and then I probably will have a separate video where I work on August, since it will be a little bit different and I won't be working, necessarily with paper or that kind of product. I'll be working with a core kit. So you will see all of that. I will have a video, I think maybe right the day after you see this one, I will have a video walking you through how my October daily album, my mini album, how it came together and what I ended up landing on, and I will share that with you. And then if you are in my membership, you will see me get into my Christmas product and show you what I'm doing for December daily for this year. So there's 2 other videos here on the screen that you can check out if you would like to continue watching content from me. Please give this video a thumbs up so YouTube is kind to me, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you know when I post a video. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.